Good morning and a warm welcome to all the viewers across India. We are live on Zoom as well as on Facebook for your convenience. You can join us on any of the above medium and share it with the friends and your colleagues also. I am Avinash Singh and on behalf of Rheumatology Task Force of RPG Life Sciences, the makers of Azoran, Adlumab, Immunotech, Mofetil and XMAB, I welcome you all to this informative patient education program related to COVID-19 and patients with rheumatic disease. It's my great pleasure today to introduce you to our speaker for the day, a reputed and a renowned rheumatologist of India, Dr. S. Sham. Dr. Sham is amongst the best rheumatologists in Chennai with experience of close to 10 years in this field. He practices at Sham's Rheumatic Care Center in Chennai as the consultant rheumatologist and is also associated with Glen Eagles Global Health City and Vijay Hospital in Chennai, also as a consultant rheumatologist. Dr. Sham has completed his MBBS from PSG Institute of Medical Sciences and Research, his MD General Medicine from Kasturba Medical College, and his DM Rheumatology from Madras Medical College, Chennai. Sir has also completed his special certificate examination in rheumatology from esteemed Royal College of Physicians, UK, and his Indo-UK fellowship from Queen's Medical Center, UK, and also have received European Certificate of Rheumatology. Moreover, Dr. Sham is an esteemed member of Indian Rheumatology Association, Indian Medical Association, Association of Physicians of India, and Tamil Nadu Medical Council. He also has close to 20 publications in national and international journals as well. Dr. Sham believes in providing high quality tech treatment and awareness information to rheumatic patients about their health condition and its management. And such information, especially during this corona pandemic, becomes of utmost importance to the rheumatologic patients. To share his views and to experience and to give us the experience further, without wasting any time, I would like to invite Dr. Sham and request him to please carry on the program. Thank you, sir. Over to you.
Hi, good morning to everybody. Actually, had been thinking about this program for quite some time, but felt there is too much of corona in the air, whether it's literally in the air or even in the media and other things. Everybody keeps speaking about COVID and corona, and I think in different forms, each might be stressed in various according to their individual issues. But there have been a lot of patients, particularly patients with rheumatic diseases, who had been like my patients, who had been asking like so many questions about this, and they also wanted me to just clarify some of the doubts. We do that during a routine consultation, but as you all know, like due to the current situations, we are not able to see patients as we used to do. Even the time we spend, or even many times these days, patients are not even able to identify with the mask and other things on. So with all the other things, I thought maybe should have a session particularly for my patients. I am just speaking in English because I think there are some patients outside Tamil Nadu and other people who may not understand Tamil. In case if anybody during the question and answer session wants specifically to be told in Tamil, I can just switch over to Tamil. So just thought we'll clarify some of the doubts. So to start with, what I will do is, it won't be apt if I don't tell anything about COVID-19. I will just briefly touch upon it. I think you might have heard enough about it in the last, I think almost 3-4 months it's going to be. So how long this COVID-19 is going to go, we are not sure. Unless we are going to get a vaccine, definitely it might be there amongst us. The severity or when it's going to peak, all those things, it's up to the specialist. They are working on it. Thing is that it's totally a new disease to us. So even the medical fraternity, they are not been able to exactly gauge or assess the situation, how it's going to go literally like. So let us be prepared and let's pray that things don't really go out of control. Actually, maybe in Chennai, things looks or seems to be settled a little bit. But overall India or in Tamil Nadu, it has not yet settled. So maybe we should be prepared for it, maybe another few months, because vaccine, not sure. Definitely it should be maybe in early 2021, if at all it comes early, that must be the time. Or hope if it comes early, all of us will be happy. So going into the topic. Just a minute. Yeah. So going into the topic, see, the most important thing in the speech is, see, we have to be careful no doubt about it, because there is something, we have a disease in front of us, totally new one. We don't have a single drug which will take care of the disease. All the people who get treated for it is with supportive treatment or drugs which take care of the complication like oxygen supplementation or IV steroid or some other newer drugs or some antiviral. So we don't have a single drug like for a malaria, give a drug, patient becomes okay. So definitely we have a pretty strong enemy in front of us. But at the same time, we have to live our life. We can't be panicking and we can't sit at home forever. So it has to be in between. So neither should we be too careless, nor we should be like too anxious and losing each, instead of enjoying losing each and every day of the day or in our life. So be in between, that is the most important thing. So this is just to create awareness, particularly rheumatic disease patients, so that you are well informed, but don't become anxious or don't panic. So coming to the symptoms of coronavirus, just 2-3 minutes, I will just brush through these things. I think most of you know. So it is nothing like symptoms will be like another flu. Only thing, because it is a pandemic, number of people are getting infected or more, you see a wide variety of manifestations. But the common things are, you do get a high grade fever with chills. Patients, many of them have severe muscle pain or body pain. Then you can have like a common cold, you can have rhinitis, or sometimes you can have cough, particularly dry cough. Particularly people with dry cough or any difficulty in breathing, it's time definitely should immediately go to hospital and consult a doctor. Recently, we do listen from our COVID specialists that many patients do present with GI manifestations like vomiting or diarrhea, and then they are found to be COVID positive. Then there are some patients who have a loss of smell. That has been, I think it has come out in the media a lot. So they have a complete anosmia, what we call loss of smell. So that is also common. Other than this, patients can be even asymptomatic, means totally you are exposed to someone, but you may not have any symptoms. That is also a possibility. So I think these are the things which you must be knowing mostly. So if there is any difficulty in breathing, or you feel any chest tightness, or if you are confused, or you feel drowsy, or any of these things, it definitely means you have to immediately go to hospital. So another thing, all the patients who are going to get COVID or corona are not going to be sick. Usually 97-98% they are going to do well, or they are going to recover. It's only the 2 to 3% who might need a hospital admission or who might become sick. So that is a reassuring thing. So don't worry too much about it. So what are the few basic things? Because definitely, if I directly go into the rheumatic disease part without telling this, it won't be right on my part. Most important thing, what we felt is definitely this distancing, what like at least 5 to 6 feet of distance. It's not only outside, even at home, if possible, like as much as practically possible, try to maintain some distance from others, particularly people who are going outside to work, or who are going to shops and other things, means who are chance of getting infected. Please stay away from the others, particularly from the high risk group like the elderly, or people who have comorbid disease like diabetes, hypertension. So this is the most important thing. Even if somebody has a COVID infection, if you are going to be staying away from them, then definitely this helps in preventing the transmission. And another important thing is, I think all of us, it's happy to see most of them, I feel, are following the rules. They do wear mask on the road. Only one thing is, I know it's very difficult. Even for doctors, wearing the mask is not a comfortable thing. But for lay public who are never used to wearing it for a long term, definitely it will be a discomfort. But please don't pull the mask down below the nose. Then it totally doesn't solves the purpose. Like, because at the end of the day, the purpose of wearing the mask is to cover both your mouth and also the nose. So that is the most important thing. So please don't. Many times when I see people, even in the clinic, when they want to speak to me, I do understand the concern, or it's like a natural reflex, but be cautious, make it as a habit so that you don't lower it, then the whole purpose gets defeated. That is the most important thing. So these are other things. Then we all know it's like spreads through hands or touching surfaces or touching objects. So make sure, because without our knowledge, many times we do touch our eyes, we do touch our nose or mouth. So make sure, keep making it an habit, at least, because as I told, this might be there for a few more months with us. So keep make it an habit so that we don't keep touching the parts of the face. And particularly if you are wearing the mask, also don't keep adjusting the mask, or don't touch the outer surface of the mask and then touch the eye. Again, the purpose of wearing the mask, it gets defeated. if possible or wherever possible, keep or clean the places where it is frequently touched upon. So I think you have disinfectants and other things, so it's basically more of a common sense thing. So which you feel many of us might be touching again, keep cleaning it and disinfecting it. And if you feel there is a doubtful fever, see, in the current situation, anybody with a fever, please doubt whether it's COVID or not. That is how it has to be taken, because it has become a pandemic, means everybody can get infected. It's not that anybody will be spared of it. So whenever you feel you are feverish, you have doubt that you might have COVID, please stay away from others. Please stay at home. I think right now, even in the workplace, people will understand this. And even at home, please stay away from the elderly people, stay away from kids. So these things have to be done so that others don't get infected. And washing the hands, I think particularly in India or in our state, like this has been told, it's not something new. Only thing you can little bit increase upon the frequency. So always when you go out and come inside, wash your both hands and feet. Use generous amount. See, there is no need for a, it's not that only you should have a what you call this, a hand sanitizer. Hand sanitizer is mainly for people who go outside where you can't have access to a water and soap. At home, you can liberally use water and the ordinary soap, and at least for minimum of 20 to 30 seconds, just wash. That should be more than enough. So in case if you are feeling sick, as I told, just stay home, particularly fever, cough, shortness of breath. Anytime if you feel some difficulty in breathing, please immediately go to the nearby doctor. Actually, these are from the pictures are from Western. This one, so many things you can keep at home is definitely you can buy a digital thermometer. Then there has been lot of emphasis on the pulse oximeter. I think I have kept it as one of the queries in the last slide. So maybe I will answer here itself. See, pulse oximeter is the one which helps to check the saturation level, means how much oxygen whether the lung is functioning in a proper way or not. So in patients with corona, means for that first you have to get infected, means if you have a COVID infection, then there is a chance that your oxygen level might go down. So what normally happens in other diseases is whenever our oxygen level goes down, immediately you will have a sense of breathlessness, you will feel some discomfort. Whereas in COVID, till some level, for example, even till a level of 85 or 80, patients are not feeling the discomfort. They are pretty happy, normal. So that's what they have been calling it, happy hypoxia. Because the low oxygen is not able to trigger a symptom, in patients who are infected with COVID, it's better you can have a digital thermometer. Sorry, what is it? Pulse oximeter. So this pulse oximeter is for people who are got infected. That is the reason even some of the, I think hospitals, they have a home care, this one package where they give digital thermometer and pulse oximeter. I think I'm not sure whether Tamil Nadu, the government is giving. There are some other states where once the patient is tested positive, they hand over this kit to you, which has to be returned once after the 2 weeks. So digital thermometer is not for everybody, not for a normal person, but in case if you are infected and you want to monitor yourself at home, then it is a useful thing to have. So don't worry if you really don't have, hope the need doesn't arise, I can put it that way. So stay at home, see any food which is healthy, I think take, so take food, lot of foods rich in vitamin C. If you want to take any supplements, take vitamin C and zinc supplements. So anything which is healthy, and any natural thing, if you want to try like pepper or curcumin or ginger, do try it, but don't take in too much of quantities, because sometimes I do see patients who, after taking lot of the commercial ones where which has pepper and other thing, they develop gastritis also. So do take, but don't overdo things. So if you feel something is not going fine, it's not just a fever, you have something more than that, cough is increasing, or you feel breathless, or you see with pulse oximeter, then please go to a nearby doctor. And these are the things which we already discussed. So main thing is just 3 things. One is stay away from others if you feel you are not doing well, if you feel you are infected with COVID. Second thing is keep washing your hands. Sanitization, hand sanitization is very important. So these are the way. And third thing is always wear a mask wherever you are going, and maintain the distance. That 5 to 6 feet with the mask almost literally minimizes the chance of you catching a COVID. That is the most important thing. And whenever you go out and come home, please wash your hands liberally with soap and water. So coming to our patients, like I think that most of the people will be interested in this is our rheumatic disease patients. So this is actually according to the American College of Rheumatology. So what we have to remember is all these diseases, patients with rheumatic diseases, we call it as an autoimmune disease. Means the immune system is going to act in an abnormal way and maybe in excess way. So any treatment we usually give are the ones which suppresses the immunity a little bit. So patients on these drugs for rheumatic diseases in general are at increased risk of infection, maybe even a common cold or a pneumonia. So that many patients we do vaccinate. That is the reason we do vaccinate. So depending on the drug, means the mildest of the drug is what we call hydroxychloroquine. I will come into detail later. Then we have a pretty powerful ones like injections, cyclophosphamide, or the newer medicines like biologicals. These are the powerful ones. So depending on the whether it's a mild tablet or a powerful injection, the amount of immunosuppression varies. So in general, patients with rheumatic diseases, particularly on drugs other than a hydroxychloroquine or a simple sulfasalazine, these don't really suppress the immunity. So anything more than that, definitely the immunity can get suppressed. So COVID being a viral infection, so here also people are worried that whether they will be at an increased risk. But luckily, whatever data has come from internationally, like throughout the world, there is no excess risk for patients with rheumatic diseases due to COVID. Okay, so that is a reassuring statement. These patients, they are not at increased risk. Whether you have a rheumatic disease or if you don't have a rheumatic disease, there is no increased risk. But said that, because you are on these drugs, it is better to be on the safer side. So means as a precaution, it is better if you are careful that so that we don't catch an infection. So that is the important. So remember, it's not that definitely you are at an increased risk. There has been no data that patients like a rheumatic disease patients, if they get COVID, they do bad. There is no such data. But based on for other infections, patients on immunosuppression, we have to be a little bit careful. So the same applies here also. So the most important thing, actually, you can see the first point is more than the rheumatic disease. What many of us forget many times is the age of the patient. That is the most important thing. Then the comorbidities. Many times when I see patients in my clinic, most of them rheumatoid patients, like patients with rheumatoid arthritis, they have a high risk of having a diabetes or a thyroid. These two actually, 2-3 actually coexist, particularly diabetes. So people, because diabetes is there everywhere, means your family member has diabetes, your friends have diabetes. Unlike rheumatoid arthritis, you feel something, the doctor is talking something new, whereas diabetes has become like a friend. So people take it little bit less casually. So actually the comorbidity is the main thing here is diabetes. So if somebody has diabetes or hypertension, that is the one which you should be concentrating and try to control it. So it is age and comorbidity which plays important role, not just having a rheumatic disease or being on these drugs. So remember that. So particularly diabetics, be careful. Please take care of your diabetic status. That is the most important thing. Already we spoke about the general preventive measures. It applies for patients with rheumatic disease also. And next thing is always I have told to my patients, they might listen to, is like what we call as a shared decision making process. Means most of the times, majority at least, I think I do spend time with my patients and trying to make them understand what tablets they are taking, when it has to be stopped, or which tablet has to be continued. So always, any chronic disease, the patient should get involved in the treatment process. So here coming to what are the shared decision making process. Morning I just got a WhatsApp message where a patient had asked whether should we postpone the blood investigations. Yeah, definitely. I think most of the patients after the March, I think the follow-up definitely has become pretty this one, because some of the patients are in different parts, other parts of Tamil Nadu, they are not able to come back. Some are scared, and for so many reasons, the usual follow-up is not happening. So thing is, usually we ask them to do once in 2 months. Means if the patient has a very high dose of drugs or some severe problems, or it might vary anywhere from 1 to 2 months to till 4 months. Question: how frequently you should do the blood investigation? It depends on the drug which you are taking. For example, as I told, if you are going to take a drug like something like a hydroxychloroquine or a sulfasalazine, which are not so powerful, you can even postpone it by 4 to 6 months. Whereas if you are on a drug like methotrexate, mycophenolate mofetil, or azathioprine, these are some of the little bit more powerful drugs. So maybe 3 months, or if maximum 4 months you can push. So why we have to do this blood test is because these drugs are little bit more powerful. More than assessing the disease, every time we see whether there is any side effects due to the drugs. So the more powerful the drug, it's better you don't push it too much. That means the spacing of the blood investigation. So I couldn't see what are the investigations. So anybody, any of my patients or any other patients, please with your rheumatologist just discuss what are the drugs you are on and ask whether the blood investigation can be the frequency can be increased, so that you need not go to a lab center and give a blood investigation because of this pandemic around. And second thing is telemedicine. See, patients who are really stable, who don't have anything major, means you don't have much of joint pain or any other disease, you don't have much to complain to the doctor. What you want to do is just show your regular blood investigations. Please go for a telemedicine, because one, see, even in our practice, what we have started doing is we have started seeing only by appointments and you have limited the number of appointments also. So it is actually, it cuts down the, means you need not unnecessarily come to the hospital, the appointment list also comes down. So everybody is, it will be in a safe position. So if you feel you are doing well, you just want to have some minor queries, want to discuss your blood investigation, please go for telemedicine. I think most of the doctors or hospitals, they have a telemedicine facility, because everybody knows now that it's not going to be a 1 day, 2 day. I think maybe we have to go down and see for next 4 to 6 months like that. And if you are on any injections, particularly biologicals, see, in rheumatology always it is like what is the benefit, what is the risk. So there are some diseases, means for example, we have a patient who has something called a blood vessel disease which affects the brain. If we don't give that injection on exactly the 4th week, the patient can have a stroke. Means, stroke means the one side, any of the body parts may not be functioning. So in that patient, there is no question of postponing the injection, or if it is going to be a life-saving one, there is no question of postponing the injection. But there are some patients who will be on something called biologicals, injectables. If you are able to manage the pain, if it is for pain, for example, a rheumatoid arthritis or an ankylosing spondylitis, or if it is skin lesions like psoriasis, then try to postpone. But I do have patients where exactly by the 3rd month or 4th month, they won't be able to postpone the injection because they can't get up from the bed. So if such a situation arises, definitely you have to go and take for the injection. So depending on the situation, seriousness of your disease, depending on the seriousness of your symptoms, means if something is going to make you bedbound, it is worth going to a hospital and taking an infusion. But if you feel you are doing well, I can manage for 1 more month, try to postpone the injection by 1 more month. So this depends. Again, this is a shared decision making. You have to discuss with your doctor or rheumatologist like what to do based on your disease condition and based on that particular injection. So another thing everybody is worried is about the steroids. See, most of the times, except for diseases like SLE or another thing we call vasculitis, we don't use steroids at a higher dosage. So people who are taking 10 mg or less than that, usually steroids, why we give is, many times it has become a big problem. Many patients don't understand that they became unhappy. All the drugs which you use for rheumatic diseases, they take time to act. They don't act immediately. They act anywhere between 2 to 3 months or even more than that. For the time being, we always have to start steroids. And most of the doctors, we try to stop steroids by 4 to 6 months maximum. So it's not going to be indefinite treatment. So patients, if you are going to be diagnosed a new diagnosis, you have 2 options. One, if your pain is bearable for the 2-3 months, you can manage without steroids. Or if it is really bad, we do see patients where they come in a wheelchair, then nothing wrong in taking a steroid dosage of 10 mg or less. Most important thing is for patients who are already on steroids, means you are taking 5 mg, 7.5 mg, like prednisolone, means you take a 5 mg, please don't stop it abruptly, particularly if you have been taking it for months or even more than that, years. Because anybody who is on a long-term steroid, at least minimum for at least 2 to 3 months or more than that, if you stop suddenly, there is a chance that your BP might go down and you can have some issues. So please don't stop steroids suddenly just because COVID is there. I am scared, I want to stop steroid. Don't do that. Please discuss with your doctor. He knows how long you have been taking. So how to taper it, and whether if tapering the steroid will help you or not is the next important question. See, as I told, steroid or even the other drugs, all are going to decrease your immunity. Okay. So immediately, can we stop the drug or can we decrease the dose? That has to be done very carefully, because for example, you are taking 10 mg of some tablet. I am trying to reduce it to 7.5 mg. In case if the disease becomes bad again, what we call a flare, means you are doing well on 10 mg, hurriedly we are trying to decrease it to 7.5 or 5 mg, again the disease becomes bad, then what happens is I have to unnecessarily might have to use a painkiller or a steroid, or the dose might even go more than 10 mg. So most of the patients, what I have been telling is people who are on a reasonable dose, not very high dose, I just tell them we will just continue the same dose. Don't meddle up with the dosages or the tablets if you are doing well, because if in case disease becomes more, then again you will be going a step up, not a step down. So remember that in the current situation, if you are doing well, please don't change the dosages too much. For steroid alone, please discuss with your rheumatologist, whether my patients means myself or other doctors, and then carefully reduce the steroid. Don't abruptly stop any drug, because the worst thing what we want at this time is a flare. Flare means disease becomes more, so the whole treatment goes haywire. Please don't do that. So don't stop abruptly any drugs, particularly steroids. If you have been on a long term, please discuss with your doctor. And for patients, if touchwood nobody gets it, but in case any of my patients or anybody gets COVID infection, if you have been on steroids for a long term, don't stop it, because it is a stress. So in case if you are at home, it's okay, or if you're going to the hospital, the doctor will manage whatever the dose of steroid, because sometimes the steroid dose might have to be even little bit increased depending on the clinical condition. So even if you develop in case if you contract a COVID-19 infection, please discuss with your doctor what to be done regarding the tablet. So be careful with steroids. So various situations can arise. Means somebody is ongoing treatment, what I told, stable patients means they are doing well, no issues at all. Arthritis is under control, everything is under control. So that time, these drugs, please continue it. If I feel, for example, methotrexate is the common drug which we use. If the patient is on 20 mg or 25 mg, I try to reduce it by 2.5 mg. So patients who are on little bit higher dosage, I try to reduce it. But people who are on medium or low dosage, please don't do anything with it. Just keep continuing it. So as I told, the thing is that stable patients, particularly if they are going to have an organ threatening problem, something like patients with SLE or vasculitis, even rheumatoid, it's okay in the sense maximum you can get is a joint pain. But patients with SLE, scleroderma, vasculitis, like all of these little bit, or another thing, mixed connective tissue disorder or interstitial lung disease, all these people, please be careful. Don't stop any of the tablets suddenly. So in case if you have been diagnosed recently, so you can discuss each of the tablets and what could be the possible side effects. For example, any patients whom we diagnose rheumatoid arthritis, the ideal drug which has to be started is methotrexate. Ideally, that is the anchor drug throughout the world. This is a guideline. But in the current situation, I tend to use a lot of hydroxychloroquine and sulfasalazine, because I feel given the situation, this is I'm talking about newly diagnosed patients. So given the situation, why to unnecessarily start on a powerful drug? Definitely once the COVID ends, maybe even if the disease is not coming under control, maybe later we can step up. That is this one, like what call idea. So we don't directly start on a powerful drug for people who have a manageable arthritis, which are less powerful drug like a hydroxychloroquine or sulfasalazine. I think most of the patients who might be attending this webinar, I think must be rheumatoid patients, because the number of patients with SLE and vasculitis are generally the percentage is less. In patients with SLE, please don't stop hydroxychloroquine at any cost. I will again come to the controversies around hydroxychloroquine later. Hydroxychloroquine is one of the safest drugs. Please don't stop it at any cost, or even patients with rheumatoid arthritis. SLE, the patients, most of the times they will be on a low dose steroid along with mycophenolate mofetil or azathioprine. These are the drugs usually you will be taking. So if you are already doing well, please don't stop it, unless in case if you have got or exposed to a COVID infection, then patients with SLE, after informing a doctor, can stop mycophenolate mofetil or azathioprine for a period of 1 to 2 weeks, depending on your clinical picture of COVID. Means whether you have got a mild infection or whether you have got a serious infection. So depending on that, except HCQs and steroids, other drugs, after informing or discussing with your rheumatologist and your treating doctor, means the person who is going to take care of your COVID, whether it's a physician or an infectious disease specialist. So patients with SLE, keep continuing your low dose steroid, keep continuing your HCQs. If at all somebody develops or your close members in your family has developed, so you are afraid that you might also have contracted the infection from them, so stop mycophenolate mofetil and azathioprine, but please do inform your rheumatologist, because even in patients with SLE, if you are like exposed to another person, there is no guarantee that you should get it. You are having some serious manifestation due to SLE, then it might be dangerous. So always discuss with your rheumatologist, then think about stopping only if you are diagnosed or if you are being exposed to a patient with COVID infection. And the last thing is when to reinitiate, means you are tested positive, means you had a COVID, you are recovered out of it. Usually minimum we wait for at least couple of weeks before starting the older drugs. I'm talking about drugs other than hydroxychloroquine, other than low dose steroid. Means something like a mycophenolate or azathioprine, or some patients might be on injections like cyclophosphamide or rituximab. So usually we wait for a minimum of 2 weeks. In extraordinary situation where patient had a really bad course of COVID, the situation might go or get extended even little bit more. So minimum period is 10 to 14 days. Definitely we will stop. For example, if a patient with rheumatoid arthritis, we will definitely withhold methotrexate or another drug called leflunomide. So these drugs will be stopped if a patient gets a COVID, or even sulfasalazine for that matter. Only hydroxychloroquine is the drug which is safest, which can be continued, and low dose steroid should not be stopped abruptly for other reasons. Okay, so remember these things. So see this slide, this is just to highlight certain things. Please don't immediately get scared that you are at a high risk or a moderate risk or low risk. See, anybody on steroids less than 5 mg, hydroxychloroquine, sulfasalazine, don't really be worried too much. Your risk is almost same as the general population. And if you are going to be only on azathioprine without a steroid, only on apremilast is a drug which some of the patients, my patients on psoriatic arthritis might be taking, or only on mycophenolate mofetil, which we call MMF or mofetil, some of you might be taking. If you are without steroids taking only these things, don't be too worried. The risk will be almost same as a general population. This is actually based on the UK guidelines. So others who are in between, like patients, most of the patients will be on methotrexate, like Folitrax or Immutrex or whatever, Oncotrex. These are the drugs you will be on. Others will be on leflunomide, Lefra, Lefno, different whatever the brand name. And mycophenolate mofetil, if you are taking along with steroid, but your disease is under very good control, means you don't have much of joint pain, your SLE is under control, or your vasculitis is under control, then you are in a moderate risk. People who are on a very high dose of steroids, more than 20 mg, I definitely sure that very rarely, most of the patients you may not be taking more than 20 mg, you might be taking only around less than 10 mg, like, or patients on cyclophosphamide, which you give patients for SLE or vasculitis or biological therapies, or combination therapies, means you take 2-3 drugs. You take a methotrexate with leflunomide, methotrexate with sulfasalazine plus low dose steroids, so combination therapy. These people are at increased risk. So people who are at increased risk, if it is possible, see, if it is elderly population, please, all the whoever they are taking care, whether it is your parents or whomever, please shield them completely. Please make sure they don't go for a to buy something in the market like that. So please shield them completely. All these things are whatever is practically possible. See, there are some people I know who are staying alone, then it may not be possible. Maybe you can ask your neighbors or some young people around to help you out. So these group, please be careful. So shield them completely. The other group, moderate risk, low risk, can go out, but in the sense you have to follow all the universal precautionary measure. See, the low risk, it's not that, see, remember, this is just a quantification or categorization. It doesn't mean a patient taking only hydroxychloroquine, he doesn't have any major rheumatic problem, in the sense mild arthritis only, so he can just go around without a mask. No. See, remember, as I told, the risk for any individual having a COVID-19 is the same for a rheumatic disease patient also. Why these things is just to be on a precautionary mode, so that we don't get into trouble. So just remember, just because low risk, it's not that you are free to do everything. Please be, or whatever precautions we told, like social distancing or mask or hand hygiene, please follow it. It is same for all the groups. Only thing is, only a word of caution for the increased risk is, if possible, try to shield them or try to protect them properly. But most important thing you can see in capitals, what I have put is comorbidities. We keep forgetting it. So being a rheumatic disease patient is okay. Being on any of these drugs is okay. But age is important. Whether you are a diabetic or not is important. Hypertension is important. Whether you are obese or not, all these things are important. People who are obese or overweight, they are at increased risk. People who have diabetes, particularly uncontrolled, they are at a very high risk. Similarly, people who are elderly. So these are the ones which has to be given more importance than just having a rheumatic disease or being on any of these drugs. Similarly, in diseases, people with SLE, please be a little bit extra careful. Particularly, I know SLE, a lot of young females will be there. So if possible, try to shield yourselves. Most of the patients, I think, will be on a steroid with a mycophenolate or azathioprine. So be careful about that. Then similarly, patients with something called scleroderma, the numbers might be less. I don't know how many of them are watching this webinar. Similarly, patients with mixed connective tissue disorder, vasculitis. So these are some of the high risk groups. Usually patients with rheumatoid, psoriatic, or ankylosing spondylitis. These are the conditions where you just patients have some joint pains. So these people are okay compared to the other ones which I told. But anybody with something called ILD, I definitely know there are some of my rheumatoid patients who have this interstitial lung disease called ILD, or a SLE patients, or a scleroderma patient. Anybody who has, as you know, COVID-19 definitely affects the lung. So just be extra careful. So you should be more careful. Why I just put gout and fibromyalgia? I saw one of my patients, she was worried about her fibromyalgia. See, gout patients, fibromyalgia patients, you are not on any immunosuppressives, so you don't have any increased risk. Only thing, as I told, if you have anything else, diabetes or hypertension, or you are obese, those things are the ones which will increase your risk. So as such, gout or fibromyalgia, not to be worried, or the drugs which you take also, nothing to worry about it. So hope this slide is taken in a right sense. All of us, including myself or anybody, any healthy person is at risk. So all of us should be careful. We should follow all the universal precautions. But the people on the left side, or the one which is on the red, the increased risk, those people just be little bit extra careful. If you have family members around you, please try to isolate them and shield them, means just try to protect them. So that will be useful, so that I see this COVID, if it is not going to be a severe infection, all of us are happy. But by chance, in chance, somebody gets a severe infection, definitely the whole family will be under stress. So be careful about it. So it's whether in my clinic or any other clinic. So what we are telling is, please follow the universal precautions like wear a mask. And while speaking, I know it's difficult, but please don't pull down the mask even in road. I do see people with mask, but it will be below the nose level. Then it doesn't serve the purpose. And get a mask which really covers nicely, which is pretty broad and covers the nose and mouth. Because I do see some fancy mask which is looks fancy, but it doesn't really serve the purpose. And most important thing, what some of the physicians who treat this, they tell, like the ID doctors tell us, infectious disease doctors tell us, that distancing. So 5 to 6 feet with your mask on, even if you're speaking to a COVID-19 positive patient, the chance, means he also is wearing a mask, you are also wearing a mask, the chance of getting it is very, very less. And since I was speaking about mask, just one thing what it struck is, remember, recently the government has also told, please don't wear a N95 mask with a valve. Problem is, the person who is wearing the mask, he will be protected. Valve means there will be a small hole like thing. But once you breathe out, in case if the person who is wearing it has a COVID infection and he is breathing out, there is no filtering and it will go out. So the others are at increased risk. So the person who is wearing might be safe, but you are putting others at an increased risk in case you might have a COVID infection. So please avoid N95 with the valve. Just have a simple 3-layer or a cloth mask, or a N95. If you are worried, you can just wear an N95 without a valve. And I think all these things must have been told. So try to limit the number of friends or guests. I don't think most of us are confined to our homes. I think people are following this. So what are the things we usually do at a safe clinic is, one, as I told, wearing mask. We do maintain distance. So in my clinic, for example, the consultation has been pushed to the waiting area. So where people used to wait, we have pushed it outside with all the windows open. And we do disinfect regularly the things which are being handled frequently, like the table or the chair. And most important thing is, please fix an appointment with your doctors, and if possible, go for a telemedicine if you are doing well. And don't better not to walk in, or to many people to sit in a crowded places. My clinic, we made them to sit outside so that there is a lot of fresh air, so that there is a lot of ventilation and cross ventilation goes around. And if you have any doubt of infection, be careful. I think our government is doing a reasonably good job, because for a country like India, though we might have our own complaints, it's not easy to manage such a thing. For that, definitely we have done well. But thing is that certain amount of this amount of infection has to go attain that peak, and then only it can come down. We can't do so much about it, but at least what we have done is, the peak has not gone, it has not suddenly shot up. We are actually blunting, or we have made it like a plateau. It's slowly rising, and it's hope it slowly comes down, because if it's going to suddenly abruptly increase the number of cases, particularly sick patients, we or the hospitals, we may not be able to manage, particularly for a populous country like India. And one more thing, other thing I want is, don't be too panicked. See, many times, because we keep watching these TVs, we see the numbers. Please browse and see how many people die in a day due to tuberculosis. The numbers are really mind-boggling. So it's not that deaths are not happening around us. Only thing we are not really looking into it. So COVID, yeah, yes, it is a this one, but it's not that something which has never happened before or we can't come out of it. So stay positive. So telemedicine, as I told, I do see there is a lot of reluctance. Please do rethink it. The risk for yourself or a fellow patients, because if 2 patients are going to do a telemedicine, the number comes down in the clinic, or for even us health doctors, for everybody that is comes down. For people who are doing well, stable patients, please do go for it. I think this will be the way forward for another 5 to 6 months. We have to use this in a wise way. So first time, if you want to see the doctor for the first time, then I am not advocating. Or if you are sick or if you are not doing well, but for others, definitely, I think at least 40-50% of the consultations can be managed with the telemedicine. See, another thing, many times I do reply a lot of patients through WhatsApp. But what you have to remember is most of the doctors will have a lot of patients. For example, I had a patient, I saw him, I told him, I replied something, then the patient in a calm way told, sir, the question was actually a few weeks back or something. See, when we sometimes accountable, so that is another reason. Like if you are coming through a problem, I want to know the age of the patient, whether the patient is diabetic, what is the creatinine, the kidney function of the patient. So many things I need to think, and then only I have to advise. Just like that advising, and in case if the patient develops a side effect, or for example, many times we write sulfa allergy. So remember, a patient with a sulfa allergy, I would have written in my prescription. But in case if I just tell over phone or WhatsApp, and if I by mistake start a sulfasalazine, then it might be a catastrophe. So do understand our difficulties also. So I think, hope you will understand that part. So coming to the last few slides. So how to live better? I think these are the things. See, I know there are some people, this COVID has really taken a toll of, whether it is a livelihood or whether it's income or being alone. So many things are there, but depending on your individual issues and in your individual family situation, maybe if possible, spend time together. Like I think the family members are the best people to support us in this situation. Then that is how we realize the value of them. And other things like you can spend time with your as a couple, because many times you had been running, or if you had some time, many of us don't concentrate on physical fitness, includes doctors also. So we can do concentrate some simple exercises that can be done. So take time for yourself. Think something you want to do, or in future, or you wanted to do, you didn't do, you can do it. Read books. Listen to music. Just stay positive, because there is no other option. See, we have to go through this. If you are going to feel bad or crib or feel anxious about it, there is no other option. It's going to bring down your moral down only. So somehow stay positive, because as I told, till a vaccine comes, we have to go through this period. And for a country like India, it's a real challenge. If each and every one of us act responsibly and understand it, then it will be easy for us to travel or cross this period. So I actually liked one of this, I think was from a daily. So try to do things which you enjoy and spend quality time. This is how you take care of this stressful situation. So some of the questions before going into the question session: hydroxychloroquine. Say, hydroxychloroquine, really sad that it had such a negative popularity thanks to some people. Like initially, without proper trials, they told it was useful. They thought it's a wonder drug. Then suddenly they told it causes heart attack, it causes so many things. It can affect the heart like it affects the lungs. So in patients with COVID infection, when hydroxychloroquine was used as a treatment, at what dose? That is the most important thing. The patients whom all of you will be taking maximum at 200 or 300 mg, not more than that. 5 mg per kg is the usual dose we give. But in these COVID patients, they used to treat it with 800 mg. Already the heart is a damaged or a irritable heart, what we call. So that is the reason many of these patients had an acute problem in the heart, like a rhythm disturbance or a heart attack. So in a normal patients, at the usual dose we use, we rheumatologists have been using it for decades. The experience with hydroxychloroquine in rheumatic diseases is not 10 years, 20 years, it's decades, literally 40 years, 50 years it's been used. So don't worry, it's actually a very safe drug, wonderful drug. People with diabetes, it takes care of your diabetes, it takes care of your cholesterol. It doesn't affect your kidney, doesn't affect your liver. Only thing which you have to do, most of my patients I would have told, or your doctors would have told, is every year you have to just go for an eye screening. That is the only thing which has to be done for hydroxychloroquine at 200 or 300 mg, which you are taking for your rheumatoid arthritis and SLE. Please don't stop the drug. I know there was an artificial, like a transient demand was there, which was created. So that is okay. Please continue it. My patients, I do give some numbers so that they can procure it directly or get a prescription if your pharmacist is asking for one. So hydroxychloroquine used in COVID is totally different. Why the news they highlight so much is because they don't want people to go over the counter and start taking the tablets. Okay, so in treatment, it's totally different. What we are giving for rheumatic diseases is totally different. So in rheumatic diseases, it's really a great drug. So people who are on hydroxychloroquine, please don't stop it. Please discuss with your rheumatologist. Steroids, as I told, if you are on a low dose, don't worry. Don't abruptly stop. Discuss the dosage with your doctor. If possible, if he thinks he will try and taper and stop, definitely no doctor will try to or would like to keep a patient on long-term steroids because we very well know what are the side effects. What will happen if why not stop the drug? Doctor, you are telling these are immunosuppressed, why not stop? I think already I touched on it. If you stop and the disease flares, then if you are here with a dosage of this much, you will be going here. So unnecessarily disease flares, that all the tablet dosages increases. If you are doing well on a particular drug at a particular dosage, just don't disturb. And the pulse oximeter, as I already told, not for everybody, only people who have got infected with COVID, you can keep monitoring at home. Coming to many people keep asking about alternative treatment. See, I'm not somebody who tell never take it. See, if you know what you are taking. For example, if you know there are some commercial preparations which are nothing but curcumin, like manjal, what you call black pepper, ginger. In the mari natural pannadana, please no issues, but take it at a right quantity so that you don't develop a gastritis. But some people are giving some heavy metals which I can't vouch for or I can't talk about it. So you are heavy metals or anything. Any natural remedy, I think most we know what it is made of. You can try, nothing wrong in it. But be careful, don't take too much because we do see a lot of patients with gastritis. So take it in the right quantity if needed. So I think with this I will wind up this one and will be happy to take questions.
Thank you, Shyam sir. Thank you for such a wonderful and in-depth explanation of the topic in such a simple manner. You have covered almost all the important aspects related to the treatment and management and also the precautions which needs to be taken by rheumatic patients during this condition. I'm sure it will be definitely be helpful for the viewers who are watching us. Now what we will do is I would request the viewers to please type their questions in the Q&A box, or you can type it on the Facebook also. Doctor would be happy to answer you.
Avinash, some of the questions I will take already I'm seeing. So one of them has asked, how about methotrexate? Can we slightly reduce the dose if you are stable? Yeah, definitely just discuss with your rheumatologist. For example, as I told, if you are on 20 mg, you are doing well, try to reduce to 17.5. Or if you are on 17.5, you are doing well, try to reduce to 15. But do it slowly, 2.5, so that even if there is a flare, it will be mild. So don't do it on your own abruptly. Just have a word with your rheumatologist. Definitely stable disease patients can reduce methotrexate. Doctor, I am with RA sir on treatment with HCQ and SAS. Can I do? Okay. Oh, yeah. Yes, doctor. Like definitely HCQ and SAS, they are not immunosuppressives. So being a doctor, like we have to do a routine. So definitely you are not at an increased risk. That much I can tell. So COVID duty with all the necessary precautions, it can be done. Definitely, if you have been on HCQ and methotrexate, I would have told there is a risk. But HCQ and sulfasalazine, definitely the risk is not more. So you can, like a normal person, you just take the routine precautions and you can go for your duty. Why HCQ cannot be considered for newly diagnosed? Yeah. See, if the patient is on mild symptoms, see what you have to understand is for rheumatoid arthritis, we have 4 drugs. First is hydroxychloroquine. Next powerful is sulfasalazine. Then we have methotrexate and leflunomide, which are almost equally powerful. So whenever we see a patient, if we feel the patients are mild enough, we do start hydroxychloroquine. So answering question, if the patient is so mild, if the symptoms are so mild, definitely nothing wrong in starting on hydroxychloroquine, controlled only with hydroxychloroquine, then he might escalate. So definitely if you feel and your doctor feels the symptoms are mild, you can go for hydroxychloroquine. How many weeks before BCG or any live vaccine we should? BCG live vaccine, I'm not sure whether it is for BCG. Usually it's for kids. Live vaccine should be ideally be given before starting a DMARDS. So if the patient is on methotrexate and you want to take a live vaccine, at least it should be for a period of 6 to 12 weeks only. Later you should give. So any patient on immunosuppression should not take a live vaccine. But I'm not sure which. Usually adults. I don't lead with pediatrics, so usually adults. There are not much live vaccines unless you want to travel to some African country where. So for your answering straight, like live vaccine should not be taken. And if you want to take a live vaccine, definitely weeks minimum, because the methotrexate and all stays in the this one for quite some time. So at least 6 to 12 weeks it should be with the. Ideal will be give the live vaccine and go for the DMARDS. Again, live vaccine been given along with high dose steroid more than 7.5 mg per day. Again, maybe pediatricians or I don't know who are the regarding the kids they are asking. See, more than 7.5 mg per day. Again, I don't know what. First, we have to find out what is the disease. Whether giving the more than 7.5 mg to control the disease is more important, or giving the kid vaccinating with the live vaccine is more important. So it depends on that. Ideally, more than 7.5, we have to be careful with live vaccine, because again it will be immunosuppressive. I think all these, if I am right, you can just type again whether in what situation you are asking, whether it's a kid or adult. Whoever has asked both the questions, I think the same person has asked. Please just let me know, adults or kids. For surgeons who are at increased risk, any precautions? Means it means you are having a traumatic diseases? I am not sure. Like surgeons means you are on a you have a rheumatic disease and you are on any drugs, or just like that? Please clarify it again. Means I think as a surgeon general, without these diseases it's different. But if you are a surgeon and you are suffering from these rheumatic diseases and on these drugs, yeah, definitely the risk is a bit more, because I think surgeons tend to operate in a closed atmosphere, so you have to be bit more careful. Whatever data, anesthetist surgeons, they have been found to be at increased risk. So that way you have to be careful if you are on any of these immunosuppressives. I had steroids for a month, around 5 mg. It stopped after that. Should it be stopped or reduced periodically? Usually we taper and stop. 5 mg is a low dose. After a month, if it was stopped, it is fine. Usually anything for a period of 6 weeks or so, it's okay. So 5 mg for 4 weeks, nothing wrong if it had been stopped abruptly. So most of the doctors, we taper and try to taper and stop. We make it 5 mg alternate days and stop, but that is fine. Monica, I'm a celebration has to stop the mode. Yeah, but I'm feeling more body pain after stopping the mode. Shall I do? I think Monica, I can remember, she is my patient. See, you can just take a paracetamol, or of course you can WhatsApp me. I'll let you know what to be done. Just WhatsApp me separately what happened, whether you got tested or what happened to it. So as of now, just take paracetamol. Monica, you can WhatsApp me separately. I will let you know what to be done. Jay Rajkumar, if there is a fever for RA patients, can HCQs be still? Yeah, definitely. HCQs can still be taken irrespective of whatever might be the cause for fever. So HCQs is not, it's not immunosuppressive. Actually, it might be in a sort of antibiotic. It might help. So no need to stop HCQs, not only for COVID-19, for that matter, any infection or even for any surgery. Doctor, I'm Lavanya. I took etanercept. Okay, and last checked. Okay, fine. Now I have joint swelling and pain. When can? Okay, see, Lavanya, like if the symptoms, see what I will definitely in the last 2, 3, 4 months, I have not started many patients on biologics because we are also worried. So first, maybe you can consult with me later. So if possible, I will try to manage with other DMARDs or a painkiller. In case if nothing is possible, then we will think about etanercept. Among the biologicals, etanercept, one good thing is it has a very short half-life. So even if patients who are on biologicals, go for ones which are very short half-life. For example, this molecular etanercept, you take it like an insulin. So the half-life of which is hardly 48 to 72 hours. So one with a low half-life is definitely much safer than with a high half-life, like something like a infusion, like a infliximab or rituximab. Sir, HCQ, is it safe for taking healthy person for COVID? Okay, this is a Sendil Kumar. It's a controversial thing. Any contraindications for healthy person? See, 3 things are there for HCQs. One is for treatment, there has not been much data. Then post-exposure prophylaxis. Somebody got exposed, then you take HCQs. That also not much data. Whereas pre-exposure prophylaxis, like what you are asking, like a healthy person taking. See, if you are a high-risk person, like a healthcare worker, then it might be considered like our ICMR had recommended for healthcare workers. But as a normal person, if you are not a healthcare worker or not working on the field like related to any of these things, then it's not advisable to take hydroxychloroquine. In case if you are a healthcare worker and you want to take as a prophylaxis, pre-exposure prophylaxis, please do a baseline ECG to see the QT interval. But said that if you are a normal healthy, this one usually for rheumatic, so actually it is not needed. So if you are a healthcare worker, do take it. If you are not a healthcare worker, don't. But again, if you are a healthcare worker, the dose which has been prescribed by ICMR is little bit high. That is the reason I told please take an ECG. Whereas what we give our patients is totally different. So it depends on whether what dose you are going to take. By ICMR recommended pre-exposure, definitely take a ECG, check with the physician or cardiologist, then go for it. So can a patient who is stable on methotrexate switch to, no. This what, see, if you are doing very well on methotrexate, change it. Because when I stop methotrexate and I want to change to another drug, in the transition period, because hydroxychloroquine sulfasalazine takes 3 months for it to act, there is a very high chance of flare, because methotrexate only 7.5 mg is a very low dose. The risk is very low, so please don't disturb it, just keep continuing it. I had stopped Lefra 10 from April since I had heavy cough. That is fine, along with fever for the first week. Should I restart? Okay, I am not sure whether you are on any other tablet. See, usually if you had stopped Lefra and you are doing well, you can just wait. Maybe if the pain again starts, we will have a relook into it, because in the current situation, I don't want to unnecessarily start another tablet. H1N1 flu vaccine can be, yes, definitely your influenza vaccine can be taken as usual, or better you take it, because be protected for your influenza and for my other patients who are not got vaccinated for pneumococcus, because there shouldn't be a confusion whether you have got infected with this or that. So please take your routine vaccines, people for whom it's indicated. It's not for all. Some people who are heavily immunosuppressed, people who age more than 65 years. So please take your flu vaccine and your pneumococcal vaccine if you are not taken it. Definitely it can be taken in the current situation. Can you share if meditation is continued as usual or needs to be already? Meditation. See, meditation, though we don't have much data, definitely it helps. What I have seen in my personal thing. So definitely it calms down your this one. There are some good nervous system called what we call a parasympathetic in medical that takes over sympathetic. So definitely meditation, please continue as usual. Even for people who don't do it, please do it. It definitely helps in such a stressful situation. It brings down the pain in arthritis. So many times people who have chronic, I do tell meditation. It's a difficult thing, but if you're doing it, great. And people who are not doing, nothing wrong if you're going to try. It definitely helps. You're not prone to be prone, but if infected with COVID or the patient having, that's what. See, as of now, the data is not that patient, in case a patient with COVID gets this one, COVID, they are at an increased risk. But because of these drugs, we are just being extra careful, like we extrapolate for other infections. Maybe we have to wait for the pandemic to end for more data to come. What I spoke is based on data from Italy, based on data from China. In India, in my patients, maybe we have not still touched the peak. As of now, there are no red flag signs. So what I can tell is, even if you are infected, you should be worried if you are a diabetic, if you are obese, if your age is more, if you have interstitial lung disease. So these are some of the risk factors which are more important than being on a methotrexate or other things. I used to take Omnacotil today. Now I started taking 5 million because it is better. Is it okay? If I had advised, it's okay. I don't know whether it's my patients. Just discuss with your doctor the Omnacotil dosage. Because, see, as I told, if you are not able to move around, nothing wrong if you are going to take 5 mg 2 times a day. Or if you had some other complications, if I had stepped up or if your doctor has stepped up, it's okay. But don't do it on your own. Just check up with your doctor. If you are checked with me already, then it's fine. Normal person, what is it? Chitranjan. Chitranjan, I'm not sure what was it. Normal person. Yeah, I understood. Normal. Yeah, I think I answered yours. Sjogren syndrome, how to clear? I'm not sure. See, Sjogren syndrome is a condition like SLE. It's not a very serious one. Most of the patients do well. So keep continuing your medicines unless you have a interstitial lung disease. Not to be worried much. I'm not sure whether it's how to clear. See, all the autoimmune diseases are controllable. They're not curable. You have to be on some form of medication. Rarely some patients go into remission where we stop the tablets. Travel abroad, we have to travel when you are green color. Take methotrexate and folic acid. Okay, see, if you're nothing to worry, you do travel. Just follow the safety precautions. Methotrexate 15 with the rheumatologist, whether it can be reduced little bit. So if you are on a stable dose, stable disease, nothing to worry. Just follow the universal precautions. How many more days will it take to stop? Okay, see, usually we start steroids. We start for rheumatoid patients, I'm telling, and we start methotrexate or any other drug. So we little bit keep stepping up the methotrexate and keep reducing the steroid. Whatever is the dose of methotrexate at which your steroids I'm completely able to take off, so that there is no joint pain or muscle pain, then that is your dose of methotrexate. So depending on the disease activity, we'll try to reduce steroid further and keep methotrexate at a stable dose. It depends on individual patients with rheumatoid or myositis or whatever. During fever, can SARS also be taken? No, SARS you can withhold. Just continue hydroxychloroquine. Please stop SARS if you have fever. You can restart it after 5 to 7 days. I'm using Lefra 20 and Uprise. If I get fever, can I stop that? No, not like immediately. See, if you get a fever, do continue apremilast, nothing will happen. Lefra, if it is not settling if it is a normal viral fever, and if it is going to settle on its own by 2 days, nothing to worry. But if your fever is going to continue, you feel it's continuing more than 2 days, yeah, definitely stop Lefra alone for a period of or till the fever settles down. So depending on definitely stop Lefra. What is SLE? Okay. See, SLE is called lupus or systemic lupus erythematosus. Usually patients with rheumatoid arthritis, தமிழ்ல முடக்குவாதம் சொல்லுவோம், ஜாயின்ஸ் மட்டும் பாதிக்கும். SLE என்னன்னா அதே மாதிரி வெள்ளணுக்கள் ஜாயின்ஸ் மட்டும் பாதிக்காது, தோலை பாதிக்கலாம், கிட்னியை பாதிக்கலாம், நரம்ப பாதிக்கலாம், இந்த மாதிரி மல்டிபிள் ஆர்கன்ஸை பாதிக்கும். கொஞ்சம் ருமட்டாய்னா யூஸ்வலா ஜாயிண்டோட நின்றுடும், மற்ற ஜாயின்ஸ் மற்ற பார்ட்டுகள் உறுப்புகள் பாதிக்கிறதுக்கான வாய்ப்புகள் கம்மி. வேற SLE மற்ற இது டச் ஆகிறதுக்கு சான்சஸ் அதிகம். பட் எல்லாருக்குமே சிவியரான SLE இருக்கணும்னு அவசியம் இல்லை. சில பேருக்கு மைல்டா இருக்கும், சில பேருக்கு சிவியரா இருக்கும். SLE போது கொஞ்சம் கேர்ஃபுல்லா இருக்கணும். பர்டிகுலரா ஏதாவது கிட்னி இன்வால்மெண்ட் இருக்கா, இல்ல நரம்பு இன்வால்மெண்ட் இருக்கா. இப்போ ருமட்டாயில கண்டிப்பா 3-4 மாசத்துல ஸ்டீராய்ட்ஸ் நிறுத்திடும். பட் சில SLE பேஷன்ஸ்ல அந்த மாதிரி உடனே நிறுத்த முடியாது, அவங்க கண்டிஷனை பொறுத்து. ஏன்னா நிறைய டைம் ஸ்டீராய்ட்ஸ் SLE பேஷன்ஸ்க்கு உயிரை காக்கிற மருந்தா இருக்கும். ஸோ டிபெண்டிங் ஆன் தட் இது SLEன்றது அதுவும் ஒரு ஆட்டோஇம்யூன் டிசீஸ் முடக்குவாத மாதிரி, பட் கொஞ்சம் சீரியஸான மேனிஃபெஸ்டேஷன் மாதிரி. வாட் இஸ் த டெஸ்ட் யூ ஆர் மென்ஷன் ஃபார் HCQs? ஓகே, HCQ எடுக்கிறவங்களுக்கு வருஷம் ஐ செக்அப் பண்ணணும். ஸோ எவ்ரி இயர் ஐ செக்அப் நீங்க ஆப்தமாலஜிஸ்ட போனீங்கன்னா HCQs லாங் டேர்ம், அதாவது ஒரு 3 வருஷம் இல்லை 5 வருஷம் மேல எடுக்கிறவங்களுக்கு என்ன ஆகலாம்னா கண்ணுல படிக்கலாம். ஸோ ஐ செக்அப் போனோம்னா அது கண்ணுல படியுதா இல்லையான்றது நமக்கு முன்கூட்டியே தெரியும். ஸோ தட் இன்கேஸ் டாக்டர் ஆமா படியுதுன்னு சொன்னாங்கன்னா நம்ம நிறுத்திடலாம். ஸோ தட் எதுவும் விஷனுக்கு வராது. ஸோ எந்த மாத்திரையுமே HCQs மட்டும் இல்ல, மானிட்டர் பண்ணி எடுத்தீங்கன்னா சைடு எஃபெக்ட்ஸ் வரதுக்கான சான்சஸ் ரொம்ப 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 கம்மி. இதுதான் நம்ம மறந்துடுறோம். ஜென்ரல் இது என்னன்னா மாத்திரை அப்படி போட்டோன்னே சைடு எஃபெக்ட்ஸ் வரும்ன்ற இது அப்படி கிடையாது. மாத்திரையை போட்டா ஒழுங்கா மானிட்டர் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தோம்னா கண்டிப்பா சைடு எஃபெக்ட்ஸ் வரதுக்கான சான்சஸ் ரொம்ப ரொம்ப கம்மி. நான் காமனா என்னோட பேஷன்ஸ் மோஸ்ட் ஆஃப் தம் இந்த டயலாக் தெரிஞ்சிருக்கும். நம்ம வண்டி ஓட்டும் போது எல்லாருக்கும் ஆக்சிடென்ட் ஆகுறது இல்லை. ஸோ சேஃபா ஓட்டுறதுக்கு சீட் பெல்ட்டும் ஹெல்மெட்டும் போட்டுட்டு ஓடணும். அதே மாதிரிதான் மாத்திரை போடுறவங்க எல்லாருக்கும் சைடு எஃபெக்ட் வர போறது இல்லை. தயவு செஞ்சு அது அந்தந்த மாத்திரைக்கு ஒரு உரிய சைடு எஃபெக்ட் இருக்கு. இப்ப சாஸ்னா வெறும் ஹீமோகுளோபின் கவுண்ட்ஸ் பார்த்தா போதும். மீத்தட்ரெக்சைட் தான் கூட லிவர் ஃபங்க்ஷன் பார்க்கணும். HCQஸ்க்கு இது எதுவுமே தேவையில்லை, வெறும் ஐ மட்டும் வருஷத்துக்கு ஒரு தடவை பார்க்கணும். ஓகேங்களா?
Sir, we have few questions on FB also. Mr. Rajendra Subramaniam, he is asking, hi sir, I took my last dose of Adlumab on March. Am I still under a high risk of COVID?
No sir, Adlimab usually it would have been washed out by 2 hours. Like by 1 month you would have been it would have gone from your system. So if you are not taken any dose after that March, you are definitely not at a high risk. But we have to see what are the other tablets, ankylosing spondylitis. If you are only on sulfasalazine, ankylosing spondylitis.
Yes sir, yes sir.
Yes sir, Avinash. I am done with that question.
One more question sir, Mr. Shivatsan, he is asking, we have difficulty in getting HCQ. Are there any alternatives for that?
That all of you remember, all these tablets in India, we have a lot of companies, so it's very difficult for all of us to keep all the companies everywhere. So the brand name is HCQs. The actual tablet is hydroxychloroquine. So any brand you get with that hydroxychloroquine, whether it's HCQS or something called Zyq or Imulast or so many other, HKIT or so many other, you can take. But the pharmacists, they have got an instruction from the government. So anybody who takes a hydroxychloroquine or even a paracetamol these days, they want a doctor prescription because of this COVID thing. They don't want anybody, the government doesn't want anybody to take over the counter prescription. So please get a proper prescription from your doctor. I think, as I told, there was a scarcity of availability of hydroxychloroquine, but right now it is not there. So definitely it is available in all the shops. Only thing, have a valid prescription which has been dated with a recently dated prescription. That is the important thing. So you can get any brand in that, not only HCQS. Like any hydroxychloroquine is fine.
Miss Devi, she is asking, sir, if we have a continuous fever for 4 to 5 days with body pain, should we get tested for COVID? No typhoid, no cold, no throat pain, and she is not a rheumatic patient.
Okay, definitely yes. Please definitely do check. See, as I told, no, see now anybody whom we see with a fever, because you know what is the meaning of pandemic, means it's spread like anywhere. So anybody whom you see with a fever, definitely it has to be thought like that. It's better to get checked, because I don't think you might be alone. You might be living with your family or whomever. So it's better to check, so that in case if you are positive, you can just isolate yourself from others, so that others don't get it. That is the main idea of it.
Miss Anandi, she is asking, I am your patient. You have stopped HCQs, but I am taking SARS 500 morning. When blood test last taken on 4th March.
Okay.
Thyroid is 112.5.
Okay.
Also she is taking.
So when the blood question is when the blood test has to be done.
Yeah.
See, SARS, if you are, I don't know what was, if it is just 500 mg of tablets twice or thrice daily, it's not a big dosage. You can postpone if you are doing well, you can postpone your doing your blood test. So March is fine. So it's been 4 months now. You can maximum postpone it to 6 months if you are doing well.
One more question. I am a vasculitis patient. Now I am on 5 mg steroids up to month end according to your last prescription. What shall I do? Whether to continue or consultation necessary? Mr.
Definitely. See, vasculitis, definitely you have to consult, because as I told, vasculitis, SLE, we have to be very careful. In case if we have a flare, for example, we just like that stop 5 mg or I further reduce it, and disease becomes bad, then again I have to start from 30 mg, 20 mg. It becomes difficult. So yeah, please, whenever I had asked to follow up, definitely these days I do increase the frequency, in the sense, or decrease the frequency. I'm giving it for 3 months, 4 months, like that. So whenever I asked, please do follow up, and please don't stop this one. Vasculitis, we have to be careful.
So there is one common question which many patients wants to know. Doctor, please let me know about how much time should we walk if we are a rheumatoid arthritic patient.
See, actually, many times I told myself, both this diet and this physical activity, there is no book description like this much amount it has to be walked. See, what I tell is, it is not about the time or the distance, it is about doing it daily. That's what I tell them. So start it. First thing is, even including myself, I think most of us have done, we start exercise, do it for 1 week, we stop it. So it's not about the time limit or the distance. So how much you can do it without making yourself too tired, that is without stretching yourself too much. So if you feel I'm able to walk 1 kilometer today without being tired over a period of 15 minutes or 20 minutes, do that. Keep doing it regularly. So automatically by 1 month or after 1 month, for example, I'm telling, or after some point of time, you will be able to walk 2 kilometers within the same time. So our what you call endurance keeps increasing when we start exercising. So there is no uniform limit. It depends on individual patients. For example, many of the patients who have severe knee damage due to rheumatoid arthritis, they always ask, sometimes they get a miscommunication even from doctors that you shouldn't walk. So you have to walk, there is no doubt about it. People with a damaged knee, make sure you walk on a flat surface at your usual speed. But for others who have a normal knee, you can walk how much ever distance you want based on your physical fitness. But if you keep doing it regularly, definitely your level of physical fitness or the level of activity keeps increasing.
Many patients have said you thank you, sir, for this wonderful presentation. I hope there's no more questions, sir. Thanks a lot for answering the marathon session for everyone. Any concluding remark from your side, sir?
Nothing. Like, see, all of us have to go through this. So stay positive. Definitely, see, we all of us have seen most individual. Many of us have had many personal issues. We might have gone through that. So this is something similar thing on a larger scale. So patients with rheumatic disease. So don't be too much scared. It's not that you are at an increased risk. Follow the same precautions what I've been told to others. Only that high risk group, please discuss with my patients, means with myself or any other doctor or rheumatologist regarding the doses, and adjust according to that. Please don't do anything on your own at this time, because I had one patient with SLE who stopped hydroxychloroquine on their own and they had a flare. So please don't do that part alone. Just discuss. You can always share your apprehension or concern. Your doctor will be happy to adjust it or change the dose if it is possible, provided the disease is not bad. So stay safe, stay healthy. If you have a lot of time, relax, do, as I told, concentrate on other activities, or so just enjoy life.
Thank you once again, Dr. Shyam, for sharing your valuable time with us, especially on this Sunday, and spreading the awareness among the viewers in such a difficult time. We are eager to listen to you again, sir, on such important topics in future. Also, thanks to all the viewers who have joined us across, and we will try to share you the video of this session through YouTube with due permission of Shyam, sir.
Yeah, sure, Avinash. Yeah, sure.
Thanks, sir. Thanks a lot. Till the next time we meet, on behalf of Rheumatology Task Force of RPG Life Sciences, goodbye, take care, and stay safe. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.